And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how are you?
Doing great, Rich. How are you doing?
I am doing terrific. You know, we didn't miss a beat, didn't miss a week on the show here, but in real life, we did because I was on vacation last week. So we pre-recorded an episode that went out to folks last week. But it's been 2 weeks since the two of us have spoken here, and in between those, during the gap in there, I was on vacation, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, and we all missed you, Rich, even though I missed you more than everyone else that saw you last week.
Indeed, indeed. Alrighty, well, let's dive in. We're back at it. Let's dive into the news here, and our top story this week comes to us from DNH. Two things that are kind of interesting about this story, and one of those has to do directly with DNH, and the other was something that they kind of called my attention to in a conversation with them. So the main reason they've been kind of reaching out to folks in the media recently is they wrapped up their most recent fiscal year at the end of April, and it was quite a good one for them, and they are happy to let folks know about that. In fact, they crossed the $5 billion revenue mark for the first time in the company's history in that last fiscal year. They recorded 19% sales growth in the U.S., 15% in Canada. And all of that growth and momentum and revenue is going to help them invest more in their partners in the new fiscal year that they've just recently begun. And so they're going to be raising credit capacity for about 1,500 to 2,000 partners, putting another $75 million a month, basically, into their downstream credit. They are looking to hire 100 people in various sales and support and engineering roles. And they've been hiring at a pretty decent clip for a number of years now, but 100 is an acceleration even by their standards. They have a new state-of-the-art warehouse that will be opening around about September, 750,000 square foot facility, not too far from the old one, but 2.5 times as big. Not inexpensive to construct, and they did this in the middle of a pandemic and a recession, but they say it's going to enable them to have more inventory on hand, turn orders around more successfully or more quickly, etc. So if you're a DNH partner, you've got some things coming to you from them that will be interesting. The other thing that came up in my conversation with Michael Schwab, one of the co-presidents of the company, though, was that we are likely to see inflated prices on hardware through the remainder of this year. And haven't necessarily seen this in a big way yet, but as Schwab was saying, you look at the commodity shortages out there, the chip shortages that we all know about, the logistical constraints around shipping and just getting products to market is harder right now. And this is a quote from a story I wrote on this. The manufacturers at this point probably have no choice but to reluctantly raise costs, Schwab said. And that ultimately flows through the channel to a higher end user consumption price. So we will see how much of that, how big a price spike we're talking about, how long it lasts, what impact it has on purchasing by SMBs. The last thing I'll point out in relation to that is that as it happens, just within the last 24 hours as we record this, and really just within the last 2 or 3 hours, the top 3 PC makers, server makers, have all reported their latest quarterly numbers. It's a good time to be in the hardware business, despite all of those headwinds I was just talking about. Lenovo in its fourth quarter, 48% year-over-year growth in that quarter. HP 27.3% in its most recent quarter, year-over-year growth. Dell 12% year-over-year growth in its most recent quarter. Big jumps by all these companies, and so we'll see if those price and that price inflation we're talking about comes along in a big way. We'll see what that winds up meaning for those companies and their partners.
Yeah, and congratulations to DNH, and it's been a storied history, right? How many years have they been around, Rich? I think it's, if I read correctly, over 100 years, correct?
104. Yep.
104 years, and they've hit a milestone, 5 billion in revenue, which means they're doing a lot of good for their partners. And it's heartening and to hear that they're taking uh, those profits and reinvesting back into their partners, because as uh, you know, IT providers and channel pros, MSPs, they really need that help. They can't be everything to every client. They can't, deliver every solution without help. And I speak a lot with partners about, who they're partnering with from a vendor and fulfillment partner perspective. Focus on the things that you do best, that you're the most profitable at delivering, and partner for some of these other things. And adding, these support programs and these, pre-sales assistance programs to help these partners grow and invest in, and trying to keep prices as low as possible. Unfortunately, I think this isn't, this is across the entire industry. We're going to see these prices go up, and you know what? It's to be expected. I mean, if we're having a glut or a drought in terms of hardware and things like that, there's supply and demand. I mean, if it costs more to get things to market, if manufacturers have to spend more money to try to up production and things like that, there are real business costs around that, and it shouldn't really concern partners that much, apart from maybe having product delays. From a pricing perspective, uh, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we are marking up our costs to meet our minimum margins and reselling that to our clients. And I don't think clients are going to stop investing in infrastructure because prices go up. It's just a cost of doing business. I'm not really concerned beyond simply the delays in maybe, having back order situations and things like that.
Yeah, I just spoke with an MSP a few hours ago who's been waiting 4 months on a server. So yeah, that kind of thing, unfortunately, will be persisting as well. But Eric, let's move on to your tip of the week here, because you're connecting two things that I think are familiar, but I'm curious to see how they come together. And one is the true up process with your customers. The other is adjusting prices on security services. What's the link between those two things?
Yes, that's exactly. So, yeah, I know a little bit cryptic here, right? So, I've been working with several partners recently that have a need to develop a security portfolio because and have legacy clients that are on older managed IT service agreements that need updating in terms of security. And one challenge is they're on legacy agreements and they may not be paying the current rate. So, us partners, we want to do, what we feel is right by our clients. And sometimes we mistake, not raising rates as a value add to them, which is the opposite. If we're not raising our rates to meet our margin targets and to cover our costs, then we're doing our clients a disservice because we're cutting corners elsewhere. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to sell on price and rush to the bottom and things like that. So for some of these partners, what I've been suggesting is, hey, let's get your security bundles perfected and priced out. And then when we approach we're going to sell those first to our existing clients first, A clients first, B clients, and then our C customers, as many of them as we can. But for those clients that are not at our current regular rate that we may be selling a new agreement to, say a new prospect tomorrow, here's an opportunity for us to maybe increase the fees of these new security bundles to try to get them to be a little bit more trued up so that we're recovering some of those eroded margins that we've had with these clients, maybe some for years. So the strategy is, hey, we're going to add additional value. We're going to make sure that we increase your security posture and provide you some peace of mind, knowing that we're doing everything to keep your infrastructure and your data secure against cyber threats. We're going to do some security awareness training to make sure that your users know what to look for and identify fake email and phishing attempts and all that. And let's bring you up to the current minimum standard for our security practice, and then price it in such a way so that we can try to shrink the delta between our those legacy rates and our prevailing rates.
And what's really interesting about that, of course, and this is chiefly psychological, but I mean, you're having one conversation with the customer about paying more versus two. You're not asking for them to invest in this new security package, which they very much need, and then also saying, and I also need to charge you more for the network management or whatever that I'm doing for you right now. It's one conversation about an incremental investment that covers both areas, but it probably, I assume, is a little more palatable for the end user.
And that's the intent. And we're leveraging a very high critical need, right? So it would be different if we were trying to do it with, let's say, cloud services or something like that. But using security as kind of the discussion point and leading with that, I think everyone recognizes that, we need to increase our security posture that way. And for new clients moving forward, the strategy is a little different. We are updating the current MSP bundle with the minimum security portfolio services within it. So now we have a hybrid that covers everything. So when we're selling to new clients, we're selling them the whole enchilada, if you will, Rich. And then from that point on, we're just making sure that we're maintaining our ability to raise our rates to meet, inflationary pressure and cost of doing business. That's another little extra tip that I'll throw in. If you're delivering an agreement that's 3 or 5 years long to your client, and your licensing costs and your third-party vendor costs increase during that term, what do? Right? You don't just erode your margin at that point. So have a clause in your agreements that say that your client agrees that you can review the agreement once a year to make any modifications not to exceed a certain percent. And I think that's very palatable to clients. They understand, hey, if my costs go up, I'm not saying that I'm just raising rates because I'm raising rates, and doesn't mean that you have to raise your rates every year. It's just giving you that little bit of cushion. In a good economy, I go 8 to 10% not to exceed. But again, that's depends on how large the monthly fee is, right? But I think in just at a minimum, 3 to 5% is, totally passes muster for any client that understands that operating costs can go up.
All right. Very good advice. It leaves us with time for just one more story this week, though, and it's actually two stories that I'll be talking about here briefly, Eric, and they both concern questionable uses of our animal friends. One of which, so as we all know, we are in, or I guess coming up on the appearance for the first time in 17 years east of the Mississippi of the Brood 10 cicadas. A Maryland candy company decided, wouldn't it be great to create a chocolate-covered cicada? And it's not a chocolate shaped like a cicada. It's actually a bug coated in chocolate. Gosh, what are they calling it? I'm not finding the name in here, but milk or dark chocolate, up to you, your choice, Eric. Now, as long as we're making chocolate-covered bugs, why not take the slime off of snails and use that to make soap? That is the other story that we have here. A 28-year-old French artisan has been using, as this Reuters story puts it, gastropod fluid to make soap bars. And I'm just gonna go way out on a limb there. I can tell you, I'm not eating chocolate-covered bugs, and I'm not going into the shower with snail slime soap. What about you?
Yeah, me neither. And I think if we stay away from the bugs, maybe we won't need the slime covered soap.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and you know the reverse holds true. They're a tandem. If you are going to do both those things, you want to do them together.
Well, some people are more adventurous than us, it seems, Rich, because I do hear that, some of these, in gastropod delicacies are considered delicacies by a certain, segment of the human race.
And they are welcome to enjoy these new products. Well, folks, that is all the time we have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We are both a video and a podcast. If you are watching the video right now, hey, why not become a subscriber to the podcast? You will find it on Spotify, Apple, Google, any place finer podcasts are distributed. If you are listening to us on the podcast, hey, check us out on video. We're on YouTube. The best place to find us is to go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube. Become a subscriber there. If you click the little bell icon, in fact, you'll get notified when new episodes go up. You can go check those out immediately. To read more about what's new with DNH and their predictions around hardware costs, to get all sorts of great business growth advice and information, industry insights, that will help you grow your business, go to channelpronetwork.com every day. Great new content going up there for you every day. To learn more about Eric and the work that he does with his clients, make your destination ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, thank you for joining us. We're going to be back in a week with another episode. Until then, folks, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.